it's Noctis. Subscribe to Vincent Valentine EX Turk channel.
What's up, guys? Marshmallows of Chaos. I'm going to actually force a video on me to test out the way I hang my new poster up that you can see. I put more fasters on it. If it don't work, I'm going to go run to the store and, you know, not right now, of course. I need to get my paychecks before doing that, since I spent too much of my paychecks at Nakacon and a lot of times at T3 and, you know, etc. So I'm not going to obviously do that right away, but I will get on it if it does fall off. Hopefully it does not. We'll see what happens tomorrow, but now I'm actually going to force a video on here so you can see it in the video. It's just a $2 Suicide Squad poster. You know, if you're a fan of Batman or DC, I mean more than Sure, of course. That's my favorite version of Harley. But nonetheless, what am I saying again? We're going to be talking about Final Fantasy, not only continuity changes, but, you know, variants. Like I said, this will be a follow-up conversation on here, follow-up to the variants of, you know, Final Fantasy characters. Because every Final Fantasy character has its own, has different variants. Like, if the Kingdom Hearts versions is way different than the Final Fantasy versions of each character. Or different characters from each series. Such as Gilgamesh in each different Final Fantasy. And then Leas Gilgamesh is actually going to end up being a serious, you know, serious antagonist we have to fight in the episode Gladiolus. Which is it's coming out, like, next week, so that's going to be really good. But there are different versions of each character. Just like if you go back and look at the, you know, each different variations of Noctis. Like there's like a bunch of different Noctises. Like Final Fantasy versus 13 Noctis is a lot different than the Final Fantasy 15 one, because versus 13 was only a concept. It never got released, and it was a different world with a different story. Even though they used some of the same characters like Ravis, Stella was Luna, Arden, Idolus, King Regis. There's a huge difference between, like, think about King Regis in Final Fantasy 15 and King Regis in Versus 13. In Versus 13, he looks like an Italian mob boss. Like, when you see the younger Regis in Versus 13, he looks like an Italian mob boss. Like, you don't want to mess that guy. I mean, you better pay him, motherfucker. You better pay Insomnia's taxes. But nonetheless, there are variants of each characters. And even in spin-off games, like, technically, Yuna from Final Fantasy X is a lot different than the 10-2 variant. Just like Final Fantasy VII Dirge Cerberus Vincent Valentine, even though he came from the timeline of Final Fantasy VII, his character design, his attitude, his character design, his theme, the way, you know, and dialogue is a lot different than the original game, which, you know, in the original Final Fantasy VII, Vincent Valentine didn't have that much dialogue because he was only an optional character. So they gave more dialogue in Dirge Cerberus. So even though that's no longer canon or not, Final Fantasy, I've seen they follow the trend of comic books a little bit. Because each character has their own variant versions of them. And each different game, spin-off, etc. And Kingdom Hearts could count as a spin-off, even though it's not a canon to the Final Fantasy series, it's only canon to the Kingdom Hearts series. But, you know, for argument's sake, it's still a variant. You know, the Cloud Strife and Kingdom Hearts remembers Sephiroth in a bad way as the original one does. They just do different things and they go through different changes. Ooh, sorry. They go for, you like my Photron? I'm so distracted, but they go through different variant changes in each Final Fantasy spin-off or Final Fantasy Extended Universe. Even Dissidia. And Dissidia, most of the characters don't remember where they come from or who they are. Now, we'll see what happens in Dissidia Arcade if they remember anything. But I kind of hardly doubt it, because they'll probably play like the other two Dissidias. Just with the new gods, you know. But nonetheless, Final Fantasy characters there's different variants of each Final Fantasy character. And, you know, you'd have to play Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts to figure out that. Just like the Final Fantasy 13-2, Lightning's a lot different than the Final Fantasy 13-1. You know, Lightning was a little bit more whinier and edged lord-like in 13-1, but then she developed into a full character in 13-2. You know, it's kind of like that. Like, the average Children Cloud is a lot different than the original, because people don't understand. See, the thing I ran about the most in the Final Fantasy community is people think that Cloud's the same. I mean, yeah, it's the same Cloud from that game, but attitudes are swapped. The avid children Cloud is mopey and depressed that Aeris is dead. As for the original Final Fantasy VII Cloud, in the beginning of the game, he thinks he's Zack, so he's cocky, arrogant, and sometimes full of himself to an extent, because he thinks he was somebody else. Until he got broken up by Sephiroth, and Sephiroth told him, nah, you're not Zack. Stop. You're not Zack. You're not Zack, okay? Stop. You're not Zack. And then Cloud got a little depressed, but the different version. But Cloud is a different version than Average Children one. Even though Average Children comes right after Final Fantasy VII. And before, yes, I already know it's not canon. But that's not the point. The point is, each version is different. Not just clothing-wise, but attitude and character design. I see how they do it. They kind of base it all. Now, I'm going to be quite honest. Nothing is original. Everything's inspired by something. Nothing's new under the sun. Everybody piggybacks a little bit. I'll admit Final Fantasy does copy some comics when it comes to making characters. And what it is for Final Fantasy characters, is that the creators sometimes forget about the Final Fantasy characters. Like, Tetsuo Norma forgot about the original Cloud. Until now, when he's trying to make the remake, so he probably went back and played the source material beforehand, but, you know, when he made Kingdom Hearts 1, Cloud was totally different than the one you know in Final Fantasy 7. And so it's because he forgot. Some of the stuff is like, oh. And then go back and I was like, oh, yeah, Cloud was different than this. Then again, the original Final Fantasy 7 was under Sakaguchi's jurisdiction. So, you know, it goes from variant to variant. And why there's so many variants is, I have a theory that all Final Fantasy, even in their own games, even in their own number games like 13, 15, 7, 10, etc., they're alternate universes. Why do you think in the ending of Final Fantasy X-2, there's one ending where you get the bad ending and Titus goes in the far plane, you never see Titus again, or versus if you would have got everything you needed to get in Final Fantasy X-2, like get the perfect ending, get Titus back, while Shuren is sent away for good and Titus comes back, because Final Fantasy, in their own perspective games, are in different universes. Just like there's people theorizing that there's a different universe in Final Fantasy VIII where Squall dies and then one where he doesn't. Which, again, Squall's not dead. That's been debunked so many times. I don't even need to get there. I'm not going to even open that can of worms or have any people on here going, these theories are good. Oh, I'm triggered. I need a safe space for all these. Debunked. You don't say debunked. It triggers me. But no, but seriously, it's debunked. It is debunked. But nonetheless, I have a theory that Final Fantasy games are in different universes because different things happen. And Kingdom Hearts could count as that. Like I said before, the Cloud in Kingdom Hearts 1 is pretty much the Cloud if Sephiroth would have won. If Sephiroth would have won that battle, and somehow Cloud survived, somehow if like Yen Sid interfered with the Final Fantasy 7 universe, and either Yen Sid, I don't know who he is, yeah, Yen Sid, went to save Cloud because Cloud would need to help Sora later on, in the Kingdom Hearts game. So Yen Sid, from the Disney world, interferes with the Final Fantasy VII world, saves only Cloud, while the rest of his friends, except for the people that Yen Sid was able to save, is pretty much that version of Cloud. And the reason why you see Cloud with Vincent's jacket on in Kingdom Hearts 1, theoretically, in my theories, Vincent died. Sephiroth killed Vincent. And that's why, as a last gift, just like Zack, Vincent gave his favorite belonging to Cloud. And that's why Cloud wears it proudly. And goes out of his way, even to join the bad guys, to find Sephiroth and put an end to Sephiroth. Same thing with the variant of Sephiroth. The variant of Sephiroth in the Kingdom Hearts is theoretically a little bit more eviler, yes, but the Final Fantasy VII Sephiroth is the stronger one because he obtained powers and fused with his supposed alien mother, you know. But Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts is nothing but pure evil energy. Like, he has to be destroyed. He's no longer a man. He's no longer the first-class soldier that he used to be. Well, he was never. He quit being that way a long time ago. But theoretically, that Sephiroth is a lot more evil. You can't even get through that Sephiroth. Since when Sora fights that version of Sephiroth the first time, Sephiroth just straight up attacks. Don't even say no dialogue. Just straight up attacks you. You know. Because that version of Sephiroth is nothing but pure evil energy. That's why he's Cloud's Heartless in the Kingdom Hearts series. But you see what I'm saying? Is that there's variants. It's hard to keep up with all these dimensions and universes and everything. And then this has been there for a long time. Because Final Fantasy games usually have multiple endings, multiple stuff that happens, multiple theories in the game, multiple this, multiple that, multiple this and that, you know. And then you have to figure it out. That's why you have to go back and play the games and do research. Now, I haven't been going back and doing research for a while because I've been stuck on 15. Because I'm still on 15 until the hype train completely dies. You know, then I'll be on the same way about the Final Fantasy VII Remake. But nonetheless, I know a little bit of 9 because I've gotten to at least the end of Disc 2 on the Final Fantasy 9. But yes, I have been doing research. And I've been going back on YouTube and watching all the cutscenes for each other game that I couldn't complete because some games are just too hard. I'm not gonna lie, some Final Fantasy games are just way too hard. You have to be completely skilled. That's not the point. The point is, it's possible that Final Fantasy games and Kingdom Hearts games are all alternate universes. So there's different versions of each character, no matter what you look at. An alternate way of looking at stuff. Now, it's kind of weird that Squall hooks up with Aeris in Kingdom Hearts, but knowing that there's no Final Fantasy VIII universe at all, then that's possible. So, the point I'm trying to say is, yes, there are variants of characters, and I wanted to bring that up. There are variants of characters in Final Fantasy because, again, different universes, different theories, different this and that. Situation changes even before when you can make dialogue, situation changes. It's been there beforehand. So, with all further ado, may the crystal be with you, and that's a lot for you to absorb. I would recommend going, if you can't be, if the games get too hard for you to play, the older Final Fantasy games or Kingdom Hearts games, I suggest go look it up a movie on YouTube. They got them in movie sequentials. You can actually watch the movie. It may get you into the game because you might want to play for yourself to see the movies, but you know, they do got, like, they even got the Final Fantasy VII completion movies on, you know, in movie format with all the cutscenes on YouTube. You can watch it in a full-length movie. I'm gonna see if I can try and, you know, I can't do that. That's a lot of movies you have to watch. Just go search them out, or go search the games out. Go on PSN. Go to a vintage stock. Go to everywhere, you know. But yes. This is just discussion about Final Fantasy character variants, and may the crystal be with you.
PlayStation